We've got a good old-fashioned cozy mystery on our hands, my dears, because someone has stolen my teacup. Now, this is a most foul and dastardly crime, and I intend to get to the bottom of it. But before we do, allow me to introduce the members of the highly dysfunctional family that I have the pleasure and displeasure of living with. First, we have Detective Barnaby Buttons. He's in his 50s, though he looks about 47. He wears a trench coat, even though he's retired, and he is allergic to, well, life. His list of allergies is extensive, ranging from the common, like cats and dogs, to the more obscure, like the human voice and stairs. His sniffs, however, are legendary. Then there's my mother, MRS, Higginbottom. She's in her 70s and looks every day over a decade younger. She's the sweetest little old lady you ever did see, or so everyone thinks. Beneath that sugary exterior beats the porcelain hoarding dragon heart of a woman who will stop at nothing to acquire more cups, saucers, and teapots for her collection, and she has her eyes set on mine. Finally, there's my cousin Kevin. He's in his 20s, and he lives in a permanent state of just woke up. His ambition in life is to one day own a pair of shoes that don't have holes in them. So naturally, when I came downstairs this morning and found my beloved teacup missing from its usual place on the shelf, I knew exactly who to blame. Did you take it? I asked Kevin, who blinked at me as if the concept of personal pronouns was an indecipherable text in a language he'd never studied. Did I what? Then, as if realizing that he was supposed to be offended by my accusation, he threw his head back and let out a long-suffering sigh. Honestly, you could at least wait until I had my tea before you started playing the blame game, he said, and then he was gone, having apparently evaporated into the ether, leaving me no closer to figuring out who had taken my teacup. I poured myself a nice strong cup of Earl Grey and sat down to ponder the situation. One thing was clear. I needed more information. But how to get it was another matter entirely. The only people I knew for certain who had come into contact with my teacup were Kevin and Mother. But they were both acting so suspiciously that I couldn't decide whether either of them was guilty. Kevin feigning ignorance, claiming not to know what I was talking about when I accused him of stealing my teacup. Mother acting as though she hadn't noticed my teacup was missing at all. My eye twitching in annoyance, I went to the one place I knew would hold the answers I sought, the kitchen. As the saying goes, you are what you eat, and in this house we eat a lot. While the dining room table was certainly a good source of information, I found it easier to sift through the crumbs and coffee grounds of the breakfast table. It took me less than a minute to spot the culprit. A tiny little shard of porcelain glistened in the morning sun. It looked oddly familiar. Could it be? I picked it up, and sure enough, my initial suspicions were correct. It was from my teacup. But that wasn't the interesting part. What was interesting was the fact that there was only one thing in the world my mother treasured more than teacups, biscuits. And sure enough, the telltale crumbs surrounding the shard were those of the very finest quality shortbread. My mother was a biscuit connoisseur, having sampled the wares of nearly every bakery in the county. She knew where she could get the flakiest pastry and the perfect balance between sweet and savory. These biscuits were from her favorite bakery. The only question now was, had she taken my teacup to enjoy a surreptitious biscuit, or was the biscuit merely a red herring, cleverly placed there to mislead me? I could ask her directly, of course, but where was the fun in that? Besides, a true detective doesn't need mere facts. They need to experience everything firsthand. So while my mother was out running her infamous Saturday errands, I took it upon myself to recreate the crime scene. I made myself a nice hot cup of tea, sat down at the table with a plate of shortbread, and waited for my mother to come home. I didn't have long to wait. Soon enough, she was in the room, looking as sweet and innocent as a summer's day. Or was she? Had her facade finally begun to slip? Was this really the harmless old lady I thought she was? Or was she something far more sinister? something like a porcelain-stealing dragon lady. Well, the only way to find out was to confront her.